So something happened earlier on today that is completely changing the direction of the world. Right now, there's so many countries that are very close to a war. But what happened today could change all of this. I have some breaking news I want to bring to you in just a moment. And this right here is exactly what the world has been waiting for. This is also what the Biden administration was waiting and hoping would finally come to fruition. So, I'm going to break down what's going on in just a moment. All I ask is one thing, takes 2 seconds. Go ahead, hit that like button if you enjoy these daily updates. And now, let's begin. So before I explain what the world has been waiting for, I want to show you a short little video clip. In this clip, families of hostages being held in Gaza. These families, they stormed the Israeli parliament and they were demanding that their relatives be released. Just look at this really quick. You can see the lawmakers just in disbelief. Look at that. These people are shouting they want their family members back. They're calling for the government to do more. Release their family members. That's what's happening. This woman right there saying that she just wants her son alive, doesn't want him in a coffin or in a black bag, just wants him home alive. Now, this is a huge moment. The reason why this is a huge moment is because what Israel just proposed. Now, this proposal and these discussions have been going on for almost 2 weeks. But look what Israel just proposed. Israel's proposing a 2-month, possibly 2-month fighting pause in Gaza for the release of all hostages. Here's the reason why the world has been waiting for this. Many proxy wars are about to erupt. And this is Hezbollah against Israel, Hezbollah against the United States, the Yemen Houthis against any ship going through the Red Sea. We have people in Hamas, or the people of Hamas. They're attacking many different groups. Right? We know Iran is attacking the United States and U.S. troops, and attacking Syria and Iraq, and that's just the Middle East. We still got Russia against Ukraine. China is still a threat to Taiwan and to the Philippines and other countries as well. But the reason why this is big news, and the reason why this is breaking news, is because this could save the entire world. This could save the United States from entering into another war. We are very close to jumping into wars with Iran, with Russia, and with China. This is a huge problem. The United States is trying to stay away from all of this. But I want to show you just a few things. So first off, this proposal of a potentially 2-month pause in fighting, this is not to end the war. Israel wants to be very clear on that. They are not trying to end the war. All they're trying to do is get the 130 hostages back home. That's it. Get the 130 hostages back home. Now, the reason why they are now discussing this is because of this. According to reports, Israel's plan to destroy Hamas, this went fairly well in the beginning, but lately it's done absolutely nothing. Israel's plan isn't working quite like they thought. So because of that, they are considering changing their plan, changing their path forward. But the world is pressing on Israel, pressing Benjamin Netanyahu to stop bombarding the people of Gaza because you are taking innocent lives. Just the other day, we learned that over 25,000 people, mainly women and children, have lost their lives in Gaza because of this war that's going on between Israel and Hamas. Now, not only will this proposal potentially last 2 months, and there's a reason why it's potentially 2 months. I'll explain more on that in just a moment. But the reason why this is something that needs to happen is because we have to get those hostages out. That's the number one thing. The second thing is by releasing those hostages, Hamas is going to see that that's going to release Palestinian prisoners from Israel. And according to Israel, they say they're not going to release all 6,000 prisoners, but they will negotiate that and they will figure out how many prisoners they release for every one hostage. That's still part of the negotiations. Now, I want to read you some more. Let's look at this. It says Qatari and Egyptian mediators have been trying for weeks to bridge the gaps between the parties in order to make progress towards a deal. It says U.S. officials told Axios that reaching such an agreement might be the only path that could lead to a ceasefire in Gaza. That is one of the keys. How can we get to a ceasefire? Well, the most likely option is we have to figure out a way to get the hostages out. That's the most likely way to end or to start this ceasefire. Now, let's keep reading. It says, according to two Israeli officials, they said that the Israeli War Cabinet approved 10 days ago the parameters of a new proposal for a hostage deal. But they're very different. Okay? Right here it says, Israeli officials said they are waiting for a response from Hamas, but stressed they are cautiously optimistic about the ability to make progress in the coming days. Now, here's where things get interesting. It says, according to the proposal, the deal would include the release of all remaining hostages who are alive and the return of the bodies of the dead hostages in several phases. This is why it could potentially take 2 months. It says the first phase would see the release of women, men over the age of 60 years old, and hostages who are in critical medical condition. That's phase 1. Phase 2, the next phase, it would include the release of female soldiers, men under the age of 60 years old who are not soldiers, and it says Israeli male soldiers and the bodies of hostages. Okay? Now, here's where things are, this is where we're starting to figure out why is it going to take 2 months? Well, it says the officials said Israel proposed the overall period of pause for the completion of the release of all hostages in the different phases could reach up to 2 months. That's the reason why. It could take a little bit. It's not going to happen overnight. They're not just going to release 130 hostages and then say Israel releases, let's say 3 times that, so 390 prisoners. They're not just going to swap them in one night. It doesn't work like that. It's going to take time. But I want to keep reading some of this. Right here it says, the Israeli official said the proposal includes Israel redeploying Israeli defense forces so that some would be moved out of the main population centers in the enclave and allowing a gradual return of Palestinian civilians to Gaza City and the northern Gaza Strip as the deal is being implemented. It also says the Israeli official said the proposal makes clear Israel will not agree to end the war and will not agree to release all 6,000 Palestinian prisoners from the Israeli prisons. So, number one, they are not going to end the war. They will continue to attack and try to end Hamas. But they will wait. There will be a ceasefire until all 130 hostages are back in Israel. Because again, the world is pushing Israel, demanding Israeli government do something, agree to a ceasefire, get the hostages home. That's the first thing that you must do. Now, this is why it could be big news for the United States. First off, the one thing that we couldn't have was the intensity of the fighting and the frequency. They couldn't increase. Well, the frequency, the missiles are hitting Gaza much faster than before, and the intensity, Israel is trying to figure out where are these leaders. They're trying to get rid of Hamas. The only way to do that is to end their lives. So Israel is going to do everything in their power to do that. But the problem is, and this is why it's a good thing for President Biden and the United States, is if Israel stops this and it's over, there would be no pressure, or there wouldn't be much pressure to provide funding to Israel. And that's something the United States needs to get away from, is funding to Israel, because now we're seeing so much pressure for additional funding to Gaza. The Palestinian people, they need additional aid and they need help. They need funding. They need resources to rebuild that entire area. Because more than 50% of the area is demolished and is turned into rubble. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens moving forward if Hamas does accept this proposal. But as of right now, Israel feels confident that this is something that Hamas could get behind. So we will see moving forward. But one thing I can promise you is I will be here every step of the way, and I will fill you in on all the latest news and updates. All I ask is one thing. Go ahead and hit that like button if you enjoy these daily updates, and I will see you guys on the next one.